Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, my name is Sanjay Jain. We have done the chapter on surface areas and volumes. Now we will do some of the questions which are supposedly a little difficult, but if you have understood the concepts really well, then it won't be much difficulty for you to solve these questions, right? So your focus should be to understand the concepts of this chapter before starting this exercise, right? So let us start with the first question here. A copper wire 3 mm in diameter is wound about a cylinder whose length is 12 centimeter. So we have got a cylinder of length 12 centimeter. So this length is 12 centimeter and there is a wire which is wound on this cylinder, about this cylinder, right? So the wire will be like this without any gap between them, right? So in one circle, what will be the length of wire that will be wound around the circle? In one circle it will be 2 pi radius of the cylinder, and radius of the cylinder is 10 by 2, that is 5 centimeter, right? So we need to count how many rounds are these. Okay, in one round the length of the wire will be 2 pi into 5 centimeter. What is 5? 5 is the radius of the cylinder, right? I am talking about, let us say this is the cylinder and you look at that circle. Okay, in one round the wire length will be 2 pi radius of the cylinder, right? So this is the length of wire used in one round. So how many rounds are these? Look at this, the width of this wire is how much? It is 3 mm in diameter, right? So if I add all these diameters, right, I will get this height of the cylinder, and diameter of the copper wire is equal to 3 mm, that means 3 by 10 centimeter, right? This is the diameter, and number of rounds about the cylinder will be equal to length of the cylinder, which is 12 centimeter, divided by width of this wire. What is the width of this wire? It is equal to the diameter of the wire. And what is the diameter? Diameter is 3 by 10. So 10 will come in the numerator. So it is equal to 40 rounds, right? What I am trying to say is we need to cover this length, right, using this wire. So there will be, how many rounds of wire will be there? It will depend on the width of this wire, right? So width of this wire is 3 by 10 centimeter, and if I take 40 rounds, then it will be equal to 12 centimeter, which is the height of the cylinder. I hope you have understood this, that the number of the rounds of the wire around the cylinder will be equal to 40, right? So what will be the length of the wire? Length of the wire will be equal to number of rounds into length of wire used in one round, which is equal to 2 pi radius of the cylinder, which is 5, right? So this is 5 into 2 is 10, into 4 40 is 400 pi centimeter. So this is the length of the wire that is being used here, right? Find the length. So we have got the length. Now we need to find the mass of the wire, assuming that the density of copper to be 8.8 gram per centimeter cube, right? Even if you don't know the formula of density of copper or formula for density, you can see the dimensions here. It is 8.88 gram per centimeter cube. What is centimeter cube? It is the unit for volume, right? If I calculate the volume of this cylinder here, then for 1 centimeter cube it will be 8.88 gram, right? And then I will multiply it with the volume that I will calculate right now. So what is the volume of the wire? It will be equal to pi r square into length of wire, where r is the radius of wire, right? We need to calculate the mass of the wire, right? Per centimeter cube it has got a mass of 8.88 gram. So what is centimeter cube? It is the unit for volume. So I will calculate the volume of the wire, right, and then multiply it with 8.88 to get its mass. Okay. So even if somebody doesn't know the formula for density, you can take care of the units here. It is gram per centimeter cube. Okay, right. So what is the radius of the wire? Diameter was 3.3 mm, so the radius will be 3 by 2 mm, that is 3 by 20 centimeter, right? And we need square of this radius, so 3 by 20 into 3 by 20 into length of wire that we just calculated is 400 pi, right? 20 into 20 is 400, so it gets cancelled here. 3 into 3 is 9, pi into pi is pi squared, right? So this is the volume of wire in centimeter cubes, right? For 1 centimeter cube it has got mass equal to 8.88 gram. 1 centimeter cube has got mass equal to 8.88 gram. So 9 pi square centimeter cube will have mass equal to 8.88 into 9 pi square, and the unit will be gram, right? So this is your answer. 8.88 into 9 will be 79.92, and pi square can be written as 22 by 7 into 22 by 7, and then further I leave the calculation part to you, and this will be in grams. Okay, I hope you have understood this question. First part was to calculate the length of the wire. For that we saw that the number of rounds is important. How in one round the length of wire used is 2 pi into radius of the cylinder, right? And then we calculated that it is 40 rounds, so we multiplied 40 by 2 pi radius of the cylinder, so we got the total length of the wire. That was the first part of the question. Then we had to calculate the volume of the wire, which was, wire is cylindrical in nature, right? It is cylindrical, so it is pi radius square into length of the wire. So we calculated the volume and then we just applied the unitary method. Okay. Okay, in this question we have got a right triangle whose sides are 3 centimeter and 4 centimeter. Okay, so let us say this is the right triangle here. Okay, and this is the right angle. Let us say this is 3 centimeter and this is 4 centimeter, right? Because these sides are other than hypotenuse. So what will be the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse will be equal to 3 square plus 4 square square root, that is equal to square root of 25, hence 5 centimeter. So we have got the hypotenuse as 5 centimeter here. Otherwise, if you know the Pythagorean triplets, you know that if the other two sides are 3 and 4, then the hypotenuse will be 5. Okay. Now it is made to revolve about its hypotenuse. So considering this as the axis, we are revolving this figure. Okay. So when you revolve this figure, this point will come here, right? And this figure will look like this. What is this figure? This is looking like a double cone, right? We are rotating this figure. Now this upper part is also like a cone, and the lower part is also a cone. So we have got two cones, upper cone and lower cone. We can call it a double cone. Okay, you visualize this in your mind that there is a right triangle. You are rotating that triangle about its hypotenuse. There will be a cone formed, three-dimensional cone. Okay, it will be like a double cone. We need to find its volume and surface area, right? So what we have got here is that these two sides are 3 and 4. For volume, we would also require this radius, right? If this is r, this will act as the radius for both these cones. Okay, this angle is 90 degrees here. So if I make this triangle separately here, just for the better visualization, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, right? And this line is perpendicular here. Okay, so and this angle is also 90 degrees, right? Let's name these points A, B, C. Let's name it as P. I want you to focus your attention on triangle ABC and triangle ACP, right? In triangle ABC, if I name these angles as, let us say, alpha, let us name it as beta. Okay, you see that in triangle ABC, angle alpha is equal to angle ACP in the bigger triangle. In this triangle, angle ACP, in this triangle, angle alpha, or you can say angle ABC, right? Okay, so these two angles are equal because both are 90 degrees, both are 90 degrees, and this angle beta is common to both the triangles, right? So angle beta is equal to angle beta common to both the triangles, right? And if in two triangles, two of their angles are equal, then the third angle has to be equal, right? Right. So because of the angle similarity, we can say that triangle ABC is similar to triangle ACP, right? So this smaller triangle is similar to this bigger one, and this is the correspondence, that triangle ABC is similar to triangle ACP, right? So now we can compare, or we can say that the ratio of the corresponding sides is equal, because that is the property of similarity. So which side is opposite 90 degrees in triangle ABC? It is 3. Which side is opposite angle beta in ABC? Let us say this is side BC, right? Which side is opposite 90 degrees in ACP? It is 5. Which side is opposite angle beta in ACP? It is 4, right? This is how you see the correspondence, right? The corresponding ratio of the corresponding sides is equal. So how do you find those corresponding sides? You see that in this triangle 3 was opposite 90 degrees, and in the bigger triangle 5 was opposite 90 degrees. So that is how I have written this result here. So I can say BC is equal to 12 by 5 centimeter, right? And if BC is 12 by 5, this is also 12 by 5 because of the symmetry, because this is the same thing that we are rotating here. So this is the side that will come on the other side, so it is same. So we have got the radius for this base of the cone, that it is equal to 12 by 5 centimeter. Now we can calculate the volume pretty easily. So volume of the double cone is equal to volume of the upper cone plus volume of lower cone, right? Let us say this height is h1 and this height is h2. Height of the upper cone is h1, height of the lower cone is h2. So what will be the volume of upper cone? 1 by 3 pi radius square, that is 12 by 5 square, into h1. volume of the lower cone will be 1 by 3 pi radius square h2, right. So if I take 1 by 3 pi 12 by 5 square as common, so I will be left with h1 plus h2. What is h1 plus h2? It is equal to 5, right. So I will put 5 here. So it is equal to 1 by 3 pi 12 by 5 into 12 by 5 into h1 plus h2 is 5. So 1 5 can be cancelled from here. 3 4s are 12. So this is 48 by 5 pi, and this is the volume of this double cone, right, in centimeter cubes, right. So what I have done in this question is, first of all, you should be able to visualize what kind of cone will be there. Secondly, you just had to calculate this radius here. To calculate this radius, I used the concept of similarity. Once I got this radius, I didn't have to calculate this height separately, right, because ultimately I required h1 plus h2, okay, and h1 plus h2 I already know is equal to 5. So this is the result here, 48 by 5 pi centimeter cube. Now you can place value of pi as 3.14. Let us place value of pi as 3.14 and then calculate. Two 512 1256. So this is equal to 150.72 divided by 5. So we can say it is equal to 30.14 approximately, right, in centimeter cubes. So this is the volume of the double cone, right. Now we need to find the surface area of the double cone. What will be the surface area? It will be equal to curved surface area of the upper cone and curved surface area of the lower cone. So surface area of the double cone is equal to curved surface area of upper cone plus curved surface area of lower cone. So curved surface area of upper cone is pi r, which is radius 12 by 5, into slant height L. What is L? 3 for the upper cone, 4 for the lower cone. So 3 plus pi r, slant height of the lower cone is 4, right. So again pi into 12 by 5 can be taken as common. So 3 plus 4 will become 7 here. So I can take value of pi as 22 by 7 into 12 by 5 into 7, because 7 is getting cancelled here, okay. So this is equal to 264 by 5. So it is approximately equal to 52.8 centimeter square. This is the exact calculation, right. All right. Okay. A cistern internally measuring this has this much volume, this much water in it, right. This is the volume of the cistern, total volume, and it has got this much water in it. Porous bricks are placed in the water. What is a porous brick? Which absorbs water in it, right. It absorbs some of the water in it. It is placed in the water until the cistern is full to the brim, okay. So there was this cistern, let us say this is the cuboidal shape, okay. You can consider it, you can visualize it yourself. It was full up to a certain place, right. Let us say this was the level of water in it. and then we place some bricks inside it, right? When I put this brick here, level of water will rise, right? In normal circumstances, it will rise equivalent to the, what will be the rise here in normal circumstances when there are not porous bricks. If I put this simple brick here, the rise in water will be due to the volume of this brick, right? And whatever change in the volume here is due to that brick, it will reflect by rise in the height here. But this, in this case, this is a porous brick, so it will absorb some of the water in it, right? So let us see, each brick absorbs 1/17th of its own volume of water, right? How many bricks can be put in without overflowing the water? What I mean to say is, let us say its volume is V, okay? In normal circumstances, if I put a brick here, then the rise, there will be rise in the level of water and it will be equivalent to the volume. How do we calculate the rise here? We say that area into height, right? Area into rise is equal to volume V. What is the area? Area is the surface area. If this is cuboidal, then length into breadth that we are talking about, right? So area, length into breadth into rise in height should be equal to volume of the brick. But in this case, it absorbs 1/17th of its own volume of water. So only the 16/17th part is effective, right? It is responsible for the rise here. So in this case, we will say 16/17 into V is equal to area into the rise, right? And we are talking about one brick here. So if I say that n bricks are used, so this will be the exact formula, right? This was for your understanding here. How many bricks can be put in without overflowing the water, each brick being of these dimensions? So let us see. So what is the volume left here? What is the capacity that we can fill? This much is already full, right? This empty space can be filled because of the bricks, right? So what is this empty space? Volume of the empty space is equal to volume of the cistern 150 into 120 into 110 minus volume of water that is already present inside this, okay? So this much volume we can fill using the bricks, right? So each brick will contribute a volume equal to 16/17. Why? Because 1/17th of water it will absorb. So 16/17 into volume of a brick is 22.5 into 7.5 into 6.5, okay? So number of bricks will be equal to volume that we need to fill 150 into 120 into 110 minus 129600 divided by each brick, volume of each brick, or 16/17 into volume of each brick, right? 16/17 into 22.5 into 7.5 into 6.5, right? So this calculation will give you your answer for number of bricks, okay? So let us do the calculation part. 12 into 15 is 180, so 180 into these two zeros into 110 minus 129600 divided by 16/17 into 22.5, 7.5 into 6.5. So this 18 into 11 is 198, and then 3 zeros from here, 1 from here, 1 2 3 4 zeros, and this is 129600. So this will be 4, this will be 0, this will be 5 8 1. So it will be equal to 1850400, and this 17 will come in the numerator, divided by 16 into this 22.5 can be written as 45 by 2, so 2 will come here. 7.5 can be written as 15 by 2, so another 2 will come here. 6.5 can be written as 13 by 2, right. So it will simplify your calculation a bit. 2 into 2 into 2 is 8, 8 into 2 is 16, right. So this will be equal to this will approximately be equal to 1792 approximately, right, 1792 bricks. So I want you to do this calculation yourself and find the result that it will be equal to 1792 bricks. Okay. In one fortnight of a given month, there was a rainfall of 10 centimeter in the river valley. What do you mean by rainfall of 10 centimeter? That this 10 centimeter is height, right. If the area of the valley is this much kilometer square, so what will be the total rainfall in valley? Total rainfall in valley will be equal to area into this height of the rainfall. So what is the area? 97280. It is in kilometer square. So we will convert this into kilometers into 10. So it is 10 centimeter. So this is 10 by 100 meters. Now to convert meters into kilometers, I will multiply it with 1 by 1000. Now this is in kilometer cube. This is the volume of water of total rainfall in the valley, right. So 1 0 can be cancelled. So these are 4 zeros. So it will be equal to 9.728 kilometer cubes. This is the total rainfall in the valley. Okay. Show that this total rainfall was approximately equivalent to the addition to the normal water of 3 rivers. So we are talking about additional water. There are 3 rivers, they have certain amount of water in them, right. Now due to this rainfall, certain amount of water will be added in it, right. So that additional rainfall or addition in that normal water should be equivalent to this. We need to check that, right. So addition to the normal water, additional water in these 3 rivers, what will be the additional water? What is the length of the river? This much is the length, this much is the width. Now what is the area, surface area of these 3 rivers combined? It will be equal to 3 into length, it is in kilometers, right, into width. Width is in meters, so I will divide it by 1000. So this is the surface area of these 3 rivers combined. Okay. If I multiply it with this 10 centimeter here, it will give me the additional water due to the rainfall, right, because this is the surface area and this is the height 10 centimeter. So let me convert it into kilometers. So this is the additional water and it is equal to, so this is equal to 3 into 1072 into 75 divided by, this is 1000 into, this is 10,000, right. So from here we can see 3 into 75 is equal to 225 into 1072. Because of these 4 zeros, this will be, there will be a decimal here, 0.1072. Because of these 3 zeros, there will be a decimal here, right. Now if you multiply these two, it will never be equal to 9.728, right, because this is smaller than 1, this is also smaller than 1, and if you multiply these two, the result will still be smaller than 1, right. So this is the additional water and it will not be equal to the total rainfall in the valley. Hence we can say total rainfall is not equivalent to the addition in the rivers, right, or additional water in the rivers, right. An oil funnel is made of tin sheet, consists of 10 centimeter long cylindrical portion. An oil funnel made of tin sheet consists of 10 centimeter long cylindrical portion. So there is this cylindrical portion attached to a frustum of a cone. So there is a frustum of cone attached, right. This is the shape of oil funnel, where base is cylindrical and top is frustum of a cone. If the total height is 22 centimeter, so this height is 22 centimeter, diameter of the cylindrical portion is 8 centimeter, so the radius of cylindrical portion is 4 centimeter, right, and the diameter of top of the funnel is 18 centimeter. So the radius of this circular portion is 9 centimeter, right. Find the area of tin sheet required to make the funnel, right. This is a funnel, so if you put something from upside, it will come from the downside, or there will be some mesh inside it. Why I am telling you this is because the top will also be open and the bottom will also be open, right, in case of funnel. So we need to calculate curved surface area of the frustum and curved surface area of the cylindrical part. So area of the tin sheet required is equal to curved surface area of cylindrical part plus curved surface area of frustum, right. Curved surface area of the cylindrical part is 2 pi r radius into height. So we have got the radius of cylindrical part and height of cylindrical part can be calculated. How? Because total height is given and there is this 10 centimeter long cylindrical portion. So it is already given that it is 10 centimeter, right. So for calculating the curved surface area of cylindrical part, we have got both the things, radius of the cylinder and height of the cylinder. But to calculate the curved surface area of the frustum, we would require this slant height also. Let us say this is L. How do we calculate the slant height? We just drop a perpendicular from here. This will be a right angle triangle. What is this height? This is 22 minus 10, right, which is 12, right. And what is this side? This is 9 minus 4, that is 5 centimeter. So L will be equal to 12 square plus 5 square square root, and it will give you 13 centimeter as the slant height. So now we have got all the dimensions. So let us put in the formula. Curved surface area of the cylindrical part 2 pi, radius of the cylinder 4, height of the cylinder 10, curved surface area of the frustum pi, radius of the, what is the curved surface area of the frustum? It is sum of radii of the circular parts, right. So it is equal to 9 plus, what is the radius of this lower circular part? It is equal to 4. So 9 plus 4 into slant height. Slant height is L, which we have already calculated as 13, right. So this is equal to, pi can be taken as common for a moment, 10 into 4 is 40 into 2 is 80, plus this is 9 plus 4 is 13, 13 into 13 is 169, right. So this is equal to pi into 249, and this, the unit will be in centimeter square. So this is equal to 249 into pi centimeter square. Pi you can take as 3.14 or 22/7. So let us take it as 3.14 and I will give you the final answer. So this will be equal to 6, 8, so it will be equal to 78186, and we will put decimal here in centimeter square. So this is the area of the tin sheet that is required to make this funnel. Okay. Okay, now we need to derive the formula for curved surface area and total surface area of the frustum of cone, right. And you see the next question is to derive the formula for volume of frustum of cone, right. So let us derive both the formula. How does a frustum look like if you have got a cone, right? If you use a horizontal plane and cut it somewhere and remove the upper cone from it, you get the frustum. This is the frustum, right? This is what we discussed in the beginning of the exercise where we covered the questions on frustum, right? So this is the frustum. So we did some of the questions where we calculated the volume of frustum by subtracting the volume of this upper cone from this original one. Similarly, we can calculate the curved surface area of this frustum by subtracting the curved surface area of this upper cone from the curved surface area of the original cone, right. So let us name these. Let us say this radius here is R1 and this here is R2. Okay. Let us say height of the frustum is H and slant height is L. Okay. And height of the original cone, let us say, was H1 and slant height of this bigger cone was L1, right. In the previous exercise we discussed that these two triangles are similar to each other, right, because of the angle similarity, because this angle is common to both the triangles and 90 degrees, this angle is 90 degrees and this is also right angle. Hence these two triangles are similar to each other. So we said that the ratio of the corresponding sides is equal. So R1 by R2 is equal to this height. What is this height? This is H1 minus H divided by this total height here, right, which is H1, and it is equal to this side which is L1 minus L divided by the slant height of the original cone, which is L1, right. This is the relation that we get using the similarity of these two triangles. This smaller one, this one, if I name it, I am talking about triangle ABC and APQ. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle APQ. This we have done in the previous exercises. So I can write this result here. right? I need to derive the formula for volume of the frustum and surface area of the frustum. Okay, so I do not require this L1 and H1 in that formula, right? Because I have got this frustum here, and the dimensions of this frustum are given by these two radii R1 and R2, and this height H and this slant height L. So these are the dimensions that I require in the formula. Okay, what I need to eliminate from this is H1 and L1. This is what I need to eliminate. So what I will do is, let us use this equation here. R1 by R2 is equal to H1 minus H divided by H1. You can write it as H1 by H1 minus H by H1, right? So R1 by R2 is 1 minus H by H1, right? So this will, you can take H by H1 on the other side. So H by H1 is equal to 1 minus R1 by R2. In the final formula, I would require H, R1, R2, L, but I have to eliminate H1, L1, right, in the final formula, because these are not the dimensions of frustum. So H1, wherever I see H1, I can replace it with what? H by H1 is equal to R2 minus R1 divided by R2. Hence, H1 is equal to HR2 divided by R2 minus R1. Similar logic will work here. So L1 can be replaced with L into R2 divided by R2 minus R1, right? Because these are similar terms, H1, L1, H, L, H1, L1, right? So you will get a similar formula for L1 also, right? Why I have found this H1 and L1? Because I want to eliminate them, eliminate these two terms. Okay, so volume of the frustum is equal to volume of original cone, the bigger one from which we have cut a smaller cone, minus volume of upper cone, let us say. This is the upper cone. Okay, what is the volume of original cone? 1 by 3 pi radius square, radius is R2, height of the original cone is H1, minus volume of the upper cone, 1 by 3 pi, radius of the upper cone is R1, so R1 square into height of the upper cone is H1 minus H. So it is H1 minus H. Okay. So now we can write it as 1 by 3 pi can be taken as common. So this will be R2 square H1 minus R1 square H1 plus R1 square H. Wherever you see H1, we need to eliminate it, right? So 1 by 3 pi will remain as it is. H1, if you take common from here, R2 square minus R1 square will come inside, plus R1 square into H. Now H1 can be replaced by this HR2, 1 by 3 pi, H1 can be replaced by HR2 divided by R2 minus R1, right, into R2 square minus R1 square plus R1 square into H. Now you notice that this is A square minus B square type formula. So A minus B into A plus B. So you can write it that 1 by 3 pi HR2 divided by R2 minus R1 into R2 minus R1, R2 plus R1 plus R1 square H. So this will be cancelled from it. So now what I have got here is 1 by 3 pi. So let us multiply it inside. HR2 into R2 will become R2 square H. HR2 into R1 will become HR1 R2, and this is r1 square into h. So if I write it here, 1 by 3 pi, h can also be taken common. So what will be left inside is r1 square plus r2 square plus r1 r2, and h I have taken as common. So this is the formula for volume of frustum with radii r1 and r2 of its circular ends, and height of the frustum is h. So this is how you derive the formula for volume of frustum. Okay. So we have used the concept of similarity here. In the similar manner, while calculating the surface area, we will replace L1 by this term here. So let us calculate the surface area of the frustum. Let us calculate curved surface area of the frustum first. It will be equal to pi radius of the bigger cone or the original cone, which is r2, and slant height of the original cone, which is L1, and you need to subtract curved surface area of the upper cone, that is pi r1 into what is the slant height of the upper cone? It is L1 minus L. So it is L1 minus L. Okay, and let us write this here, that we need to replace L1 by LR2 by R2 minus R1, right? This is what we got using the concept of similarity. Okay, so let us solve this. This is pi R2 L1 minus pi R1 L1 plus pi R1 L, right? So what we need to change here is L1 only. So what we can do is we can take L1 as common and pi as common. So we will get R2 minus R1 inside plus pi R1L. Now L1 can be replaced by this. So let us replace it here. LR2 by R2 minus R1 into pi into R2 minus R1 plus pi R1L. This gets cancelled. So this is pi R2L plus pi R1L. So it is equal to pi R1 plus R2 into slant height. Now this is the formula for curved surface area of the frustum. If you need to calculate the total surface area, so total surface area, you can add the areas of the circular ends, pi R1 square plus pi R2 square plus pi R1 plus R2 into L. This is the total surface area of the frustum of cone. So this is how you can derive these formula, right? I have derived the volume first and then I have derived the curved surface area. Okay. So this was about this exercise. I hope you have understood all the questions. If you do these questions carefully using the fundamentals that we have studied in the previous lectures, these questions you won't find any difficulty while solving these questions also, right? Thank you.